you all for coming. If you would now please rise and join us. We'll be led in prayer by Mike Norbert, Associate Pastor of Russellville Assembly of God, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's pray.
Father, we're so very grateful that we can come to you at this place and at this time. And we can come with confidence and boldness because you instruct us and invite us to come boldly to your throne of grace. Father, we thank you for these servant leaders who are giving themselves to serve this community and to serve the people and citizens of this community. And we ask blessings upon each one of them, their homes and their families. Father God, we pray for each one of the workers that work so diligently and tirelessly to make this city a great place. We pray, Father God, that the agenda here tonight will be met in such a way that it is pleasing to you and beneficial to your people. Father God, we thank you for your grace and your loving kindness, which is from everlasting to everlasting. We ask and receive these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, everybody's had a chance to review the minutes. If there's no questions, I would
Move to approve.
thank you. We've got a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or corrections?
Hear you, Mayor.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes? Say
Aye.
Any opposed? Financial report, Mr. McCoy.
Mayor and Council, finance report for February. General fund revenues. Revenues were $1,387,628. That's 5.25% above our projections. Sales tax receipts were $845,808. Franchise fees and permits were $377,945. Expenditures in the general fund were $1,113,051, 2.16% above our year-to-date projection. And we have $67,460 received more than expended. Street funds operation revenues were $119,505. It's 13% above our projections. Sales tax receipts were $198,198. The new half-cent sales tax brought in $46,906. Street fund expenditures operations $147,479, 11% below the projection. Improvements we spent $20,423.56. Capital, $10,563. Economic development revenues were $24,686. Of that, $19,896 was new sales tax, $4,760 interest. We had no expenditures. Capital assets revenues were $650,386. $646,848 was the new sales tax, $3,538 interest. Expenditures were $75,218.48. That's City Corp, Administration, Animal Control, Parks and Rec, and Park Special. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. McCoy?
Good, thank you.
Everybody good? Thank you. We have a couple of commission appointments we need to take care of. Appointing Mr. Mike Wilkins and Mr. Eric Westcott to the Board of Adjustments. Both of these are veterans of the Planning Commission. Is either one here tonight? I guess we really need them.
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. So that brings us to the mayor's report, which might be an hour or so long tonight. The silver lining is I'm not going to do any of it. We've got several items to discuss and inform with. For the first one, where did I put my list? For the first one, let's start with a presentation to Mr. Bobby Day, Mr. Tripp, the commission. If y'all want to come up, Mr. Day, if you'll come up.
Presented to Bobby Day, grateful appreciation for his years of service as manager of the Russellville Airport. December 28, 2007 to March 31st, 2015.
Mr. Bob Burris is chair of the Airport Commission, and he provided me with some notes. Mr. Day was an airport commissioner from January 2004 to October 2007. As Mr. Tripp just said, he became airport director October of 2007 through March, through this month. Responsible for $5.7 million in improvements to the airport at a cost to the city of $440,000. That works out to 7.74 cents on the dollar. That's from 2006 to 2015. That explains why a small town like Russellville has got the facilities that we've got. Mr. Day has worked the grant program extremely well. Just a couple of notes on that. 2006 to 2009, constructed a new parallel taxiway, extend taxiway G. They bought a new John Deere tractor and a ZTR mower. 2008, 2009, constructed a new terminal building. We rehabilitated and extended the roof on the open T hangars in 2009. In 10, they expanded the parking lot, constructed access to the taxiway and the apron. A lot of work on the runways. You know, you don't think about it, but here's one in 2013, runway seal coat, $224,045. You know, everything you do out there costs a lot of money. And if we can get it for 7.74 cents on the dollar, we need to get all of it we can get, I would say. And so, Mr. Day, thank you. And the good news is, he's going to take a few days off, and then we're going to get him back as a volunteer, which is even better. Thank you, Mr. Day. Mr. Jones, if you would come up. Mr. Jones actually has a couple of items that I'd like for him to cover for you tonight.
You want me to start?
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mayor. The Mayor asked me if I wanted the opportunity to recognize some of our guys in the street department for the job that they did here through some of these winter storm events that we've had recently, and I would like to do that. First of all, I'd like to thank y'all for giving us the equipment to take care of the streets. I came before you here a few months ago asking to purchase a new snow plow and a salt spreader, and that equipment helped out a lot. We were joking. We thought we might have dodged some winter storm, and we thought we might have warded it off a little bit by purchasing this equipment, but that didn't happen. Everyone out there in the street department worked hard to to clear the streets. We were running two sand spreaders and plows, and then the salt spreader. You know, the guys running the trucks were Earl Cole, Keith Becker, Steve Gray, Gary Freeman, Aaron James, Stephen Wilson, David McCurry, David Kendrick, Randy Harmon, and Aaron Trimble. These guys, you know, some of them were working all night long. They came in, you know, we were working, we had, what was it, President's Day, I think, that we actually had some winter weather, and these guys, you know, some of these guys came in. Our mechanics, Jeremiah League and Josh Standridge were both, I mean, you know, putting on snow plows, setting the equipment up, keeping it running, did a great job. And then Kenneth Duval and George Selassie, both, you know, were out putting up signs, road closed. But I'd also like to thank the police department. You know, they did a great job of communicating with us and telling us where the problems were on the streets, and just, I think it went as smooth as you know, as we could expect based on the conditions. But I would like to just recognize the guys for the effort that they made, and I appreciate the opportunity.
We've had a lot of compliments, people calling in and talking about how the event wasn't as big an event as they were all fearful of. So congratulations and thank you to your people.
And one additional comment about that salt spreader. You know, this was the first, and we had a lot of success with that salt spreader, and it you know, it worked well. I have not always been a big fan of putting salt out on the street, but it did work, and I have to say that was mostly Junior Marple. It was all him pushing for that. So, but again, I appreciate the opportunity to recognize those guys. They, like I say, they did a great job.
And then you've got another item you want to
Well,
tell us about?
y'all have got an item on your agenda here a little bit later, I believe, towards the end about
It's actually item 6 on new business.
asking for a resolution to support a grant application. It's an 80-20 grant match for through the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department for a transportation alternative program. I was contacted here, I don't know, it's been a couple of months ago, by a couple of teachers out at the Russellville High School, Paul Gray and Chuck Campbell, and they have a class that was working on some sidewalk and trail projects for the high school and around the area, recognizing the fact that we've got students out there in those areas walking in streets, and you know, these students, these kids in this class wanted to do something to, you know, kind of promote or put together a project, I guess, and approach the city about doing some sidewalks. And they contacted me, and I was aware that the highway department was about to start accepting grant applications for this TAP program, and thought this would be a perfect opportunity for us to kind of work with the students and, you know, put together a project. So that's what the resolution's for. I'm going to let them come up and kind of give you their presentation that I had the opportunity to view here a couple of weeks ago, and see what you think. But I think they've come up with an excellent project, and we're like I say, if y'all will pass this resolution tonight, we'll get a grant submitted.
Hello. Hello, we are the RHS Human Geography and Environmental Science class. And this is our And this is our pedestrian safety proposal. I'm Elijah Oslam.
I'm Maureen Belzerzak.
And I am Chris Shawbrook. So the problem that we have identified is that it is unsafe for many students to get to and from school. The crosswalk shown up there, for example, it basically leads from one ditch to another, and cars often just disregard it. So it's just generally very unsafe. You can end up waiting there for a minute and no cars will stop for you.
Now the trail in red is what we're focusing on tonight. That was the other two trails are part of a project that we presented to the school board earlier this week.
We propose that a sidewalk be put in on Knoxville from the Ashbrook Housing Development to 16th Street because many kids walk from that housing development to school and kids walk from the school to 16th Street, and it's very dangerous to walk along Knoxville, and it would just make it safer for them to get to and from school and to their house. Another problem that we've identified is the intersection at Knoxville 19th Street. There have been 48 reported accidents in the past 10 years and 5 in the past 12 months. It's just a very dangerous intersection. As you can see on the picture on the left, the streets aren't lined up. People drive across them as if they are, and you can see the picture on the right. It says right turn only, but people go straight across. And actually, when I took that photo, someone did go straight across. And so it makes it dangerous for not only pedestrians, but also drivers. So we propose that the streets be aligned and then a signalized intersection, like you can see on the photo, be put in. And we would need a warrant study from the state to be able to do that. Another issue is 19th Street. It's very dangerous for students to walk to and from school. It's very narrow and there's no shoulder, so they have to walk either directly on the road or in the ditch. And I've seen students doing it, and I definitely wouldn't want to walk there. And the sidewalk would go to South Detroit, and South Detroit already has a nice sidewalk on it, so it could connect, as you can see in the blue there, so students could safely get to the Boys and Girls Club, as many students do walk to the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay. So Detroit Street here in front of Oakland is better than Knoxville and 19th in that it has a sidewalk on one side of the road. This is really just the bare minimum of what we want. We would prefer something more, such as a complete street. This was funded through the Safe Routes to School program, which only funds for K through 8, but we were hoping for something similar to be done in front of the high school. And this is also the sidewalk that would connect to the high school were we to do this on 19th Street.
Four- 14th Street near Sequoia has both one sidewalk and a bicycle lane, so that makes it look a lot better and also gives it a bit of buffer, so the pedestrians are a lot safer. It also raises property value, which is good.
So Parker Road over by Crawford Elementary would be even better because it's a complete street. It has sidewalks, has bike lanes, and a buffer zone between the road and the sidewalk to further separate pedestrians from the road. This optimum street, it further increases safety of students walking on the sidewalk, and it also further increases the property values of the surrounding neighborhoods. And for Knoxville, an 8-foot sidewalk on the side of the road, it would cost approximately $170,000. On 19th, an 8-foot sidewalk on one side of the road would cost $120,000. But although this would also, sorry. Ideally, 19th Street, it would be an excellent candidate for a complete street similar to Parker Road with a the bike lanes alongside the road, sidewalks, and a buffer zone in between from Knoxville to Arkansas. And the signalized intersection proposed earlier would cost approximately $200,000.
Do you have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Mr. Jones, how is this going to work with these two different projects or one project or?
Well, what I'm planning to submit a grant application for is just the Knoxville sidewalk and the 19th Street sidewalk. That
Okay.
portion of what they've presented today. And that should be, I expect that we would probably be successful in getting a grant for somewhere in the neighborhood of a $250,000 project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Jones, we're not talking about a bike lane on those two streets? are
No,
we?
sir. At this time, all we're talking about is just a sidewalk. Those streets are both, well,
Narrow.
of course, Knoxville is a state highway,
Yeah.
but in 19th Street, they're both
It's narrow.
uncurbed, and it's going to be. And I haven't worked out exactly even where the sidewalk would go on either project or either street at this time, but it is going to be a little challenging with the road ditches and so forth. But we'll work something out.
Yeah, it's awful narrow.
Well, I would just like to say thank you to these two instructors and the students who came and made the presentation this evening.
Yep.
We appreciate that very much and appreciate your interest in our city and the interest that you have shown here this evening.
While we've got you here, Mr. Jones, isn't there a deadline coming up April 1st for this application?
I think I mentioned that. It's April 1st is the deadline to have
Okay.
it submitted, so.
This ties in with new business item number 6. While they're here, they've gone to the trouble of working out this presentation. I would entertain a motion that we move new business 6 up to this point in the program. And
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We
Kirk,
make a motion to adopt this.
motion
Second.
and a second. That Mr. Tripp.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for your presentation. Very good. Believe it or not, that was the scaled down version. I got to see this Tuesday at the school board meeting, and there were a lot of students that couldn't make it tonight. It's a busy time for them, and the whole presentation is pretty impressive. So. Next up, Mr. Warnick. Mr. Jason Warnick. I'm just going to let you explain it because it's a pretty interesting deal.
Thank you so much. I'm also here with Dr. Julie Michael Schluterman, who's also from Arkansas Tech, and she'll be joining here in just a second. First off, thanks for letting me us speak today. And I'm going to start off with some fairly sobering facts. First off, every 4 minutes, somebody in this country is diagnosed with a blood cancer like leukemia. And every 10 minutes, somebody in this country dies from blood cancer like leukemia. So, I mean,
Now, I heard about the donuts and the 3 o'clock, but nobody mentioned anything about running. So we may have to get in touch on that.
Okay, well, just scratch the running part.
Okay, I'm there, 3 o'clock.
I also want to invite all of the councilmen to please join Mayor Horton at 3 a.m. to serve donuts to students. It will be a fun event, so please join us, please promote the event. In order for us to break that
I could be there.
we need the entire community to join.
Yep. One group is doing breakfast at midnight, another group is doing breakfast at 1 o'clock, so it sounds to me like it's going to be a lot of fun and worth staying up for.
Stuber too old.
Thank you.
Stuber come in Newport, dude.
About, 2 weeks ago, I got a chance to go over to the library and meet some new friends. I'm just going to let you come up and introduce everybody, all three of you, if you would.
Because I'm too old for it.
Okay, I'm Dana Dean.
I ain't got no grandkids yet.
Polk County Library System, and I have requested that either Kevin Massey, our Russellville branch manager, or Kathy Mullins, the assistant branch manager, be present at the council meeting so that they can keep abreast of what's going on in the Russellville community, as well as keep you informed as to what they've got coming down the pipe. So, Kevin, if you'd like to share what's going on at the moment?
Can't hear you.
Lift your mic up.
Thank you. If you haven't been in, I guess probably in the last 6 months or a year, it seems like every time I go in, there's something new added and a program expanded. So I'd encourage everybody to stop by the library and see what changes there are. Mr. Vernon,
Mike's not on.
Mr. Vernon, you want to introduce these gentlemen from Game and Fish?
Huskey's gonna fix him, and Robert's gonna fix him. Mike, you're gonna have to go to that other mic over there, ain't nothing don't work.
Everybody brag on how good Mike's getting along since his hip surgery, knee surgery.
I've got Mr. Ralph Meeker and Mr. J.D. Crawford that would like to speak with you about the urban hunt.
All right, guys. Very quickly, I just want to give you an update. Russellville harvested 49 deer this last urban deer season. That's up 1 deer from the year before. So you're staying pretty consistent around 50 deer. A few changes to the program this year. In years past, the urban deer program was set with a predefined set of rules that all cities that participated in the urban deer program would have to follow. We changed the program up a little bit this year to provide some flexibility. We put some wider sideboards on the program. We have some cities that want to implement the hunt themselves but still receive the benefits of having liberal bag limits and season frameworks and those type of things. So in order to accommodate them, we've kind of broadened the program. So we have really two paths now. We have a path that where the city implements the hunt 100%, and then we have the path like we had before where the ABA helps come in and help the city implement the hunt through the orientations and the bow hunter education courses and the proficiency exams and things like that. So we've provided some flexibility. What I would recommend that is if the city is okay with what they have been doing and how the hunt has been going, I would suggest that we stay the course. And JD will talk to you a little bit about that. But you know, anytime you guys have any questions or concerns about the urban deer hunt, feel free to give us a call at Game and Fish. Thanks for having us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm J.D. Crawford. I'm the Urban Hunt Coordinator for the Arkansas Bowhunters Association. Just want to speak to you briefly. Talked to Mike and been working with Ralph here over the last several years to get these urban hunts going. And what we are proposing, what we're here to talk about, is the ABA's involvement with the city of Russellville in the past and moving forward with the urban hunt in 2015-2016 hunting season. As Ralph alluded to earlier, there are some changes that have taken place with the broad spectrum of the hunts throughout the state. And what we would propose to the city is keeping the status quo that we had last year as far as the Arkansas Bowhunters Association conducting the bowhunter education classes, keeping that requirement for the hunters, keeping the 10-foot elevated stand requirement in the urban hunt protocol, and also keeping the proficiency testing in that also. The Bowhunters Association, as we've done in the past, we had the orientation and the proficiency shoot at Blackwell in the last 2 years, but what we're proposing, we've talked to Mike about, is bringing that orientation right here into the city of Russellville at a location we're going to try to determine at a later date. And that way the hunters that are here in Russellville, they're not having to travel very far, come to the orientation, the proficiency, and the briefings, and that way it'll make it easier for the hunters in the city. The reason we're wanting to keep the bow hunter education requirements and some of the things in place that we've done in the years past is we want to give the city the safest, most responsible hunt, you know, each year. We feel that keeping those requirements in place, we're putting the best bow hunters in the tree. We're conducting that hunt in basically a very quiet manner. We feel, and I feel, that the best possible scenario for an urban hunt within a city is that 2 months after the hunt's closed, somebody comes to a city councilman or to the mayor and says, we thought that we had a deer hunt, you know, we didn't see anybody. That's what we want to see. We want them to go in there, help the city out with the problems they've got, and that the normal citizens of the city of Russellville never know it took place. And that ideally, that's what we've had in the past. We've had very few incidents in any of the hunts, and I don't know that we've had any here in Russellville. So we want to, you know, move forward with what we've done in the past. We think it's worked well. We've worked well with the city. We want to keep moving forward in that manner. Do y'all have any questions about the urban hunt that we could address here? Thank you for your time, Mayor.
Thank you. I can't believe we fire hosed our way through that much information that quick, but very well.
Doing good, Mayor.
Mr. Hollis, will you give us our department report for this month?
Figure this out.
See, Mr. Vernon got away. I'd like to thank Mike for letting me go a little earlier on the department report this year. We're having 2014 and the start of 15, we've had a pretty big year for Parks and Rec. We now maintain 21 parks consisting of over 770 acres of park land, Comparing that with the national average of parkland per 1,000 population, the median national average is 9.1 acres. Russellville right now has 27.5 acres per 1,000. The national average of maintained parkland, again, is 9.1 on the national average, and we're maintaining about 35.7. Since February of last year, 14, we've added 18 acres of parks with the addition of 3 new parks: Waco Basin Park, Depot Park, and Old Shorty Trail, which we'll talk about in a minute, becoming a park. Waco Basin Park is over in Whippleville. It has 4 miles of asphalt trail. It also has 8 picnic tables and 4 benches. Basically a community park for the Deer Run area. Depot Park, we're working with Main Street Russellville currently on the development of the Depot Park area, which will become a city park. This is the drawing we're working on now, and they're trying to move forward on this park. It's about a 4/10 acre park. Old Shorty, which most of y'all know was the original Bonadilla Trail. Old Shorty has been added to our park. We're working with the River Valley Veterans Association, with the Corps of Engineers, and the city to develop this park into a Veterans Memorial Park. We're looking at, I think they're looking at a new parking lot, working with Kurt Jones on it, working on moving monuments from all over town to having one main Veterans Memorial Park, and then they're asking us to change the name of our Veterans Memorial Park on Detroit. We are having a public meeting. We hope that everybody will attend to discuss this project on Old Shorty and also discuss the moving of the monuments from the original Veterans Park. That's at 6 o'clock at the Hughes Center Monday, March 30th. So we want to make sure everybody knows about that public meeting, and we will advertise that meeting. We also are working on 3 trail projects currently. We're working on the Orbit Lane Trail, the Phoenix Avenue Trail, and the Oida Coal Company Mountain Bike Trail. The Orbit Lane Trail, we have completed about 2/3 of the project. It is an improved trail. It will, we hope, someday cross the lake and go under the interstate to attach to Dyke View Park and Illinois Bayou Park, which is where our wildlife observation trail. It's a very beautiful trail. It goes to the end of Orbit Lane, where you can see hopefully our new convention center someday. Both sides of the trail will be on the lake will be on both sides of the trail. We're also working on the Phoenix Avenue Trail. The blue stripe up there at the very top near the right will connect the curve of Phoenix Avenue to Bonadilla Trail. Which we looked at this as one of our most important trails because, one, it gets people, if y'all have ever noticed everybody that runs along Arkansas and people that bicycle over part of Dyke View Lakefront Drive to get to Bonadilla, this takes them off of that, and we're working on that. We're also working, this is where the curve is. It will go along where the climbing wall gym is, and it will tie into the woods and the curve of Bonadilla. This is the other end of Bonadilla Trail, and this will tie Bonadilla onto Parkway, which will make one big loop over. A lot of people I know go to the junior high school and park and run and bicycle, and this will make a safe loop for them to ride, and it'll keep, like I said, it'll keep people off of Lakefront Drive and Arkansas. This is looking from Parkway, and where the error is where the end loop of Bonadilla trails are located, and this will tie us into it. The Oida Coal Company Mountain Bike Trail, it starts at Illinois Bayou Park. You can either access it from the upper parking lot, or you can access it from the Wildlife Observation Trail. It is now a 10.5-mile loop. So when you start at the parking lot and go through, you can get back. You've taken a 10.5-mile loop. This is access points to the trail. Also, we have been working with the school district and the city on reclamation projects at Hickey Park, mainly on fields 1 and fields 6. They have, both those fields have new scoreboards. They both have new netted backstops. Field 1 has an entirely new infield and a new sprinkler system, and they all have new dugouts. That's the new netting system for the ball fields. One of the new scoreboards, and then new dugouts on both fields. We're also working with the newly formed Russellville Rowing Club to bring competition rowing to Russellville. This club is being formed by Steve Newby here. They are going to put a new dock system that's made for their shells, where they can get their shells in and out of the water. They're doing this out at Illinois Bayou Park, and we've already visited with the Corps, and with their approval on the water, they've approved it. The Parks Commission's approved this. So we hope to see rowing in the River Valley in the very near future. We also this year have developed a turf plan. Right now the budget for the turf plan is $33,000. We're going to work on spraying, weed control, fertilizer, dirt control, some control in front of all the goals at soccer. This is going to be done in-house. We're going to buy our own equipment. We've already got the spray is in hand, and Matt Gray is licensed to apply the chemical, and he got his license in, I think, last week. So we're hoping to start the spray either weather permitting tomorrow or Monday morning to get the first coat down, and then the next one will apply the next week. My assistant director, Terry Thomas, and Matt are handling that project. The Russellville Aquatic Center, I know we're going to discuss that tonight. At the last council meeting, I know that the city passed the conceptual drawing. I've spoken with ETC, and they are working right now on the construction documents and the development stage of that project. We also, this year, we've added 3 new employees. Bert Harris, Ronnie Gardner Jr., and Jacob Waters have started with the department. Hopefully they will help us in getting caught up with many of our projects that we're working on currently. Anybody have any questions or comments? I appreciate the opportunity, gentlemen. Thank you.
Mr. Hollis, I do have a question for you. Did we recently have a proposal before us that we passed that connected Tech to Phoenix or something? There was a sidewalk or something, pathway that we recently did a couple months ago that was going to connect. I got asked about it a couple days ago.
Not that I'm
Something
aware
about
of.
even connected where the aquatic center is going to be going, or with this the
Not
connection.
yet. That was part of the overall Russellville Connected Trail Plan. You know, I know you've seen that plan, and it was part of that plan.
Okay.
But it has not gone any further than just on the planning stages.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hollis? Committee reports. Chairman Tripp, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. If the council would, I would like to make a motion to move the construction management discussion from both committees' reports to the end of new business, which at that point might require no motions or multiple motions. to be addressed. And I would like to make that in form of a motion. I asked Mr. Smith how to proceed with this, to bring both recommendations together for discussion at the same time instead of one over the other, and this is what he suggested to do.
I would second that motion.
I think that would be a convenient way to handle it. What do we need for that, Mr. Smith? 5 votes, 6 votes? 5. Okay. All right, everybody heard the motion in the second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very well.
In addition, Mayor, the committee met tonight, brings before, all items that we bring before the full council in form of a motion, a consideration of resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to apply for a accept a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration on behalf of Russellville Airport. This is to apply for grant money to pay the city back for additional property that was purchased a year or two ago across the highway.
We paid for that out of general funds, and this is to apply to FAA to get our money back on it.
And that's in form of a motion.
Everyone heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, consideration of resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with Miller Newell on behalf of the airport, and that is the engineering firm that has handled that purchase and that land deal. And that's in form of a motion.
Thank you. Everybody heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next 3 items, 4, 5, and 6 on our agenda: appropriations, general fund for moving money for the fireworks presentation by the Parks and Rec Department this summer, $8,000. Reclassify and reappropriating money for small tools and equipment that it was a rollover from last year of $3,500. And then $80,000 to appropriate the money that for the project that was approved at last week's special council meeting for some water and sewer relocation out of the Economic Development Fund. And those 3 are presented in form of a motion.
Thank you. Everybody heard the motions, items 4, 5, and 6. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, number 7, number 8, we combine these together. Consideration of an ordinance waiving competitive bidding to remediate mold at Station 3, and the appropriation of that. Since it's an ordinance, we may not be able to combine those at this point in time. There was a clarification that there was not a conflict of interest to be resolved before this motion. I'm not sure if that has been resolved or not.
It has been.
So that is the ordinance is brought in form of a motion for passage from the Finance Committee.
Okay, everybody heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Okay.
Mayor, do we need?
It's an ordinance. It is an ordinance.
I did not clarify
Okay.
that.
Yep. Let's go back and redo that one then.
Okay.
It's a motion from the Finance Committee. Would your motion be,
We did not clarify that, whether it be title only, so if I'm able to, I would amend that to read one-time title only, and then we can vote to adopt after.
A short explanation.
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
We need a vote. Need a
That
vote
was-
by.
You're okay with that procedure though?
That's yes.
Okay, everybody heard that part, to suspend the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then, go ahead.
All right. An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, accepting a quote from Arkansas Restoration for remediation and removal of mold at Russellville Fire Station Number 3 and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would waive the competitive bidding process that's normally required by state law for the remediation removal of mold at Fire Station Number 3.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mayor, if I may, I'd just like to point out, so everybody's on the same page here, that this figure is only for tear out and remediation. It's not for putting back.
That's correct. They felt like, one, it would be hard to give a very accurate quote until they see what they're really dealing with, and number 2, we felt like it was not really in our best interest to waive the bidding on that.
Right.
We could waive it on this part because they're a specialty deal and because we really need to move forward on this. They think they can have the remediation done 3 weeks after they start. Chief, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so that's why we're breaking it into 2 separate deals for those reasons.
Mayor, is that for the north wall too?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, we've got a motion and a second then. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? No. Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's right, emergency clause.
Next item, are we?
One second.
Yes.
I mean, is there some, will it be into effect in 30 days, you think, or is it gonna be, if we got everybody lined up?
They'd like to be ready to go in a couple of
Then
weeks.
go ahead and do it.
Emergency clause,
All right.
can we get?
Mayor, I do make that recommendation that this be declared an emergency and that we do this immediately. That is my motion.
Second. Second.
Second.
Mr. Tripp, okay, Mr. Tripp seconded that. You heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? No. Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, number 8 is the appropriation of the $70,000 from building R&M to fund that. And that's in form of a motion.
Thank you. Everybody heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item number 9, consideration of resolution to accept a bid from Allison Ford for $50,946 to purchase a dump truck for Public Works. And that was approved by the committee in form of a motion to present to the full council.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Number 10, consideration of resolution to accept a bid by Little Rock Equipment Sales for $48,500 to purchase a pothole patch piece of equipment for Public Works. That also was passed by the committee to present in form of a motion to the full council.
Okay, everybody heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Number 11, consideration of resolution to accept a bid by National Lift of Arkansas for $20,718.20 to purchase a forklift for Public Works. That again was passed by the committee to present in form of a motion for the full council.
Everybody heard the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Number 12, consideration of resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to sign a special warranty deed. It was a clarification that Mr. Smith presented to us. That was approved by the committee to present to the full council in form of a motion.
Okay, that one, you heard the motion. If there's questions, feel free to ask.
What warranty deed is this?
For your,
Mr.
for your
Smith.
house there, Mr. Stuber, I think.
There was a person going through an estate of their late father and through a title search on the estate, found that the city owned a fifth of that estate. That was through, I believe, mix-up of, back when the Urban Renewal Agency was doing a project, and part of that property was, a fifth of it was deeded to the city instead of that agency. So when the agency finished that project and resold the property, the person who's recently passed away bought 4/5 instead of the full 100%. And this is just kind of correcting an oversight way back when.
Okay, any questions on that, or? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Mayor, last item on our agenda was number 13, consideration of resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement for services with the Arkansas Valley Alliance for Economic Development. That was voted 2-1 to table.
Table till next month?
Yes. And that is all that we had on our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Stuber, do you have anything on yours other than the part that we've moved to the end?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll move into unfinished old business. Item 1, ordinance establishing rates and fees for services furnished by water system of City of Russellville. I believe we've had our first reading.
No, we put it off, but we did have a public hearing on it.
Okay.
And I believe Mr. Mallett wants to speak on it and suggest when it needs to be passed tonight or at another date.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith and Mayor. The rate ordinance, obviously, that you have before you tonight, we've been talking about for quite some time. It does revise the various fees that we charge that make them responsibility of the customer that receives those services, and it also revises the rates to fund approximately $71 million in water and wastewater improvements over the next 10 years. More immediately, we would be issuing approximately $40 million worth of bonds to fund water and wastewater projects. There's a long list of the capital improvements that we've made available. We've had quite a few presentations. I presented to several different clubs and groups, you folks as well. We did have a public hearing last Tuesday, March 10th. We had a few folks show up. Seemed like most of the comments that we received were more about serving areas of town that maybe didn't already have water and wastewater, and maybe some of the construction techniques that were going to be used. Didn't really have much comment actually on the rates themselves, which I took as a positive that most people understand that this is a necessary thing and will accomplish what we need to do over the next few years. Again, it is $71 million with about $40 million of those being spent over the next 5 to 7 years for wastewater improvements. We do understand that no increase is desirable, but we also understand we do need to make the improvements necessary to keep our water and wastewater system up, to keep this community responsible, stable, and viable. We do appreciate the community's support. We appreciate you folks' support. And we continue to be responsible and accountable with the money that you folks entrust to us, and we will make sure that we do what we've stated that we will do in all the presentations that we made and all the information that we've put out up to this point. So without belaboring the story that I'm sure you've heard many, many times, I will be glad to answer any questions that you may have regarding the rate ordinances or anything along those lines.
For your timing, Mr. Mallett, you really need action on this fairly quickly.
We've met with the underwriters, and they can, obviously there'll be a referendum period if approved tonight or whenever it's approved in 30 days, but they are cognizant of that, and they feel that within 45 to 60 days we could have funding available and could begin the projects. We do have several projects that are on the books and ready to be bid. The meter project that we have talked about in the past, we have already moved forward with that with the anticipation that we would have funding so that we could move that project along, because that is a project that will pay itself off in a matter of years, so we wanted to move forward with that. So timing obviously is of the essence for us. I'm not saying that, you know, that anything would fall apart if we didn't move forward tonight, but obviously the quicker we can get moving with it, if there are no known objections that we haven't answered or any questions that we haven't addressed, again, I feel like we've laid out a pretty clear schedule of projects that we're going to do, and the timing and the scheduling of all those projects. So we've got our charge and we're ready to move forward.
Make a motion, we suspend the rule and read the title only with short explanation.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye. An ordinance establishing rates and fees for services furnished by the water system of the City of Russellville, Arkansas, and repealing other ordinances related to water rates and fees for other purposes. This ordinance will be known as the Water Rate Ordinance, and it will set the new rates for the service of water for the City of Russellville, and it will repeal all the other old water rate ordinances as set out within this ordinance. And it also establishes the associated water service fees also throughout this ordinance.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, you heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Mallett, you mentioned the referendum period. You've got 4 or 5 pieces of business to take care of. Are you okay with us not implementing the emergency clause?
You have to wait 30 days.
That would be fine. Obviously, we won't be moving forward prior to that anyway, so,
Thank you.
thank you.
Item 2 of old business is the same thing on the wastewater system.
Make a motion, we suspend the rules, read by title only with short explanation.
Second.
I thought we did a motion. Okay, I may be ahead of myself. Did we had a motion to adopt, right?
Right.
And a second?
Yeah.
Mayor, can I interrupt if I may?
Sure.
Just dawned on me, within the rate ordinance itself, the first rate increase is scheduled to go in April. It would be April 15th, I believe it was listed in the ordinance. I don't know if Trey might correct me if I'm wrong there, but I know it is prior to the next board meeting. So in order to meet that initial rate setting, we would need an emergency clause to be able to do that.
Okay.
So I
Make a
apologize
motion.
for that oversight.
Make
Okay,
a
let's-
motion, we have emergency clause.
Let's, Kathy says we did not do the
Roll call.
vote. So all in favor of the motion to approve the rate increase, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You need to call the roll.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? Yes. Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now I would entertain a motion on the emergency clause.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now, old business number 2, same situation on the wastewater side of the system.
Motion, suspend the rules, read by title only, short explanation.
Second.
Okay, you heard the motion in the second to suspend the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
An ordinance establishing the rates and fees for services furnished by the wastewater system, City of Russellville, Arkansas, and repealing other ordinances related to wastewater rates and fees and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, will be known as the wastewater rate ordinance, and it will set out a new set of rates and fees within the ordinance, and that the effective date will be April 1st of this year, and will also repeal the old wastewater rate ordinances currently in effect.
Motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? Yes. Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Move we adopt the emergency clause.
Second.
Everybody heard the motion and second on the emergency clause. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving into new business, item 1, consideration of a public hearing and an ordinance vacating an alley. Recommended by the Planning Commission.
You just need a motion, is all you need on it?
Yes, sir.
Motion.
Second.
No, it's an ordinance.
Ordinance? But it's just for, well, no, it's for,
Sorry, Robert, that's just setting the public hearing.
yeah, it's just setting the public.
Okay, so,
No, you've got to open a public hearing right now, because this is the ordinance.
Oh, you open the
Tonight,
public
okay.
hearing there?
okay,
Before we do anything else.
we will open the public hearing now on the ordinance to vacate the alley. That's Harris Agriculture School Edition, North Boston Place, and North Cleveland Avenue. And do we have anybody that would like to speak? None? Okay. We'll close the public hearing.
Make the motion, suspend the rules, read by title only, short explanation.
Good.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Any discussion? All in favor of suspending the rules?
Aye.
Any opposed?
An ordinance vacating and abandoning a 10-foot right-of-way between lots 1, 2, 13, and 14 in Block 11 of the Harris Agricultural School District in the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, at the aforementioned description, which is between North Boston Place and North Cleveland Place on East K Street, is further shown on the plat label Exhibit A with this ordinance, would vacate the aforementioned 10 feet of right-of-way at that location.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? Yes. Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item 2 is an ordinance to rezone property presently zoned C2 to C4, sent to us from the Planning Commission.
Motion to suspend the rules, read by title only. It's a short explanation.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Mr. Smith?
An ordinance zoning certain property for the city of Russellville, Arkansas. For the purposes, this ordinance would rezone property at 900 block of West C Street. That's further described by the attachment labeled Exhibit A. That is currently a mixed zoning of C4 and C2 to all C4.
If there are
Motion
no
to
questions.
adopt.
Okay, we have a motion, Mr. Harris.
Second.
Second, Mr. Eaton. No other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Richard Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris? Yes. Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 3 is a resolution setting a public hearing for the vacation of a right-of-way in the 2400 block of East Main. That was recommended by the Planning Commission. This is to set the public hearing on the 16th day of April at 6 p.m. here in council chambers.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Got the motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 4, consideration of a resolution requiring rehab by agreement for removal or raising.
We have. Can we pass that?
Oh, that's one we're going to, we're going to table this one until next
Yeah.
month at the suggestion of code enforcement. If that's okay, I guess we need a motion to do that.
Motion.
We've got a motion and a second. Tripp's motion, Wiley's second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor
We-
of tabling that?
Can we have some discussion on this?
We can.
I understand the reason, as it was explained to me, as why we're wanting to table this. But I guess my question is, what do we do? Are we just going to let this thing stand till it rots down?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to find ourselves like Hot Springs and Pine Bluff are right now for failure to take any action on something like this
What's the address?
because of a situation that, as I understand it, exists, because we have the potential of this kind of thing that we're going to have to deal with multiple times in the future. And those cities are dealing with failure to take action in a less than satisfactory way at this point in time. They put it off and put it off for years. So I just bring that up as just a matter of question. I think we need to, whatever we do, we need to do something with this relatively quickly, if that's possible. Because this has been in an extreme state of dilapidation for several years already.
Mr. Smith, what would our options be?
On Monday, I spoke with the building official and the owner of this property, explained to him that it would be reviewed in April, and one of the conditions about if it was passed today to April would be that he would have to board up all access points to the structure. Code enforcement will monitor that, and if that's not done, then I believe it would be code enforcement's recommendation to go ahead and proceed with removing the building.
Can I just ask, because evidently I'm in the dark on why we're delaying this, tabling this for a month?
My understanding is that the owner is trying to finalize a deal in which he will be rid of the property and the structure will be removed, and he needed till April. At that point, we will know whether or not he's accomplished that goal or whether we need to go forward and the city do it ourselves. If, of course, he does it and it's removed, then the city will not incur any expenses. And I think if the city invests in expenses in removing it, it will be highly unlikely that the city will recoup any of that money back. So it would be advantageous for the city maybe to wait 30 days and potentially not have to spend anything on this and the structure be removed. And that's kind of why for the delay for 1 month.
Any other discussion? So we got a motion and a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I believe we're up to item 5, consideration of a resolution to amend Resolution 1441, setting procedures for the city council to include a time for public comment. We've kind of worked around this for a couple of months. Something we thought we would experiment with to allow the public a chance to give us some input at the end of our meetings.
The end or front?
At the back end.
Back end.
Yeah. This, the way we were envisioning it, it won't be a back and forth, it won't be negotiation, it'll be a chance for people who want to speak. They can sign up, they're free to speak on whatever topic they like. It does not have to be something on the agenda. And if the council feels like taking it up, we can take the information and then try to work it into a future agenda, but it won't be handled at the time it's brought up. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, over here on Exhibit A, page 2 of 2, E, under public comments, go down to E. No alderman shall speak more than 2 times in the debate of any one main motion or debatable secondary motion except for the incidental motion of appeal. What does that mean?
Square that one up for us, Mr. Smith.
That's been in effect all this time. Now.
It has been.
It's it's simply to try and keep debate, since there's 5 minutes for speaking, that you would have 10 minutes, and if everybody spoke here 10 minutes, we'd be here 80 minutes on potentially for one agenda item. So it's trying to limit that so that Kathy and I are not here all, until midnight on some things.
Stewart, you haven't broken no rules yet.
I just want to make sure I don't, Robert.
We won't let you.
Any other discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor, what brought this on?
Oh, it was actually mentioned at the January Municipal League meeting, and
Yeah.
it sounded like an opportunity, I guess. It sounded like an opportunity to allow more public participation, or at least give them the opportunity to. Several other cities have done it, and some of them abandoned it because, frankly, nobody ever took them up on it. Some abandoned it because it got completely out of control. There are some rules we need to adhere to in doing it. Just feeling a little reckless at the moment, I guess, Mr. Eaton.
Well, I suppose you can do that.
We used to do it on the, Turner did it on the front end. They sign up on, speak on whichever item they wanted to.
That was my generosity to the council. We don't, because we won't be voting, we don't have to have a quorum, so anybody that needs to
Leave?
excuse herself, yeah.
Yeah, but then you're gonna make the audience mad.
No, I mean, we'll take it under advisement and work it into,
Future business.
You need a motion for this?
if you want to
I'll make a motion.
run the risk.
Yeah, I wanna run the risk. I wanna see where it goes.
Motion by Mr. Wiley and a second by Mr. Tripp. I think Mr. Tripp is setting me up for something.
I think this could be interesting.
We'll see what happens. Any other discussion? Concerns? Warnings?
It's gonna be interesting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Now
Where we up to now? 6,
We got the good one
which
now.
we already dealt with.
We done did that one.
7, discussion of forming a Public Works Review Committee for city projects. Now, this one is, we just kind of threw it out there last week, so this is really, really up in the air. It's just something that has been discussed back and forth different times for a couple of years, actually.
How many members would you want to be on that committee?
I think 9 makes it
Too many.
too many, a little hard to get anything done. I think 5, you're always running on the edge of not having a quorum or getting enough people there.
6?
6, 7.
Who's gonna pick these members, you or the council?
That's up to the council to work out. I mean,
Okay.
that's how fluid this is. We're gonna scrape up a bunch of sand and water and try to build something out of it. I think the number of somewhere around 6 or 7 is good. We need to be sure that whatever name we give it, that it's a committee, because a commission technically has to be established by state statute. So this will be a committee. It will be advisory in nature.
And how often would they meet?
You know, we're talking about a deal that's a 5-year plan, really, for them to look at. A lot of these projects move at a slow pace, so quarterly,
Mr. Jones still
or
here?
whatever you think.
He's done gone, isn't he?
No, he's there.
Oh,
He's back there, but boy, he's being awful quiet now, isn't he?
He is.
Had a lot to say
Who
earlier.
who would chair this committee? Mr. Jones?
I kind of see it working like the planning commission. You know, like Mr. Harris is an advisor to them, but they have their own chair. And another question to answer is, do you want the same liaison? Mr. Tripp is liaison to Public Works. Can he be liaison to this too? And, you know, those are questions that the council's going to have to answer.
Well, I think if it's in his department, if it was in my department, I'd want to be the liaison to it, so.
Mayor,
you know.
could we, maybe like Mr. Harris or something, spend a little time and work up some parameters? Because as I understand it, just asking Mr. Smith about it, the difference between this and planning commission is planning commission has set parameters set by state law.
Correct.
And this has no parameters.
Yep.
And it has to be clearly, very, very detailed defined if it was to proceed. So I think we would, if it's gonna proceed, we would need to have some details before us to actually know what we're voting on. So, someone like Mr. Harris, which is a very good detailed person, could,
And he doesn't have enough to do.
yeah, he's retired, and so
Well,
he could work on that for us.
That's totally up to the council. I would recommend that you include Mr. Eaton because he's been kind of dallying around with this for over a year. But certainly get as many of you as want to get their hands dirty with this involved and try to make something out of it.
I'm gonna stay out.
Mayor,
Sir?
you know, everybody has opinions. And, you know, my opinion is you form this committee to review projects for public works. The city mayor and city council are the ones that fund those projects. And they're the ones that people call when they get upset about those projects. And, you know, I kind of foresee this being, you know, like some of these other boards and commissions, if the city council goes a different direction than what they're proposing, there's gonna be feelings hurt, people get upset.
Get bogged down.
And get bogged down. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, but I feel that way. Thank you.
Could the same thing be obtained by just having some public meetings, town hall meetings, kind of like we did on the O Street project, to engage the public?
Yep. While we're on this, let me introduce, I think most of y'all recognize Mr. Harry Comprud, and the gentleman with him is Eston Jones. Eston is Director of Transportation at Russellville School District. They stuck me on a school bus a couple of weeks ago and drove me around mostly on the east side of town and over the mini roundabout.
Gee.
There's what I'm picturing is input from people like them. I've had a guy that, he's a big member of the bike community. When we're laying out a project, one of the things we have to decide is, does this warrant being a complete street? Is this something that we, might as well save the extra dollars because it's not going to get used? And I'm just thinking there's an opportunity for the public to put a little more input in before we get to the part where, somewhere between, we're approving the money and then we'll start pouring concrete. So it's up to the council if you want to explore it. There's no time frame, there's no hurry. But
Mayor, my point of view is I think it would be good just to review this, get some ideas about it, and toss it around, see what, particularly from the standpoint of the users.
okay, is that okay with the council? We'll let Mr. Harris and Mr. Eaton flesh this out a little bit, and try to firm it up.
Yeah, develop it a little bit.
Thank you. I believe that is the end of the agenda. Circling back to the discussion on construction manager.
And Mayor, I think this is the right, if I may, I think this is the right way to proceed with this. Before we even get into the committee's recommendations potentially, could I make a motion? Maybe we need to address whether or not we're going to move forward with the construction management method before we get into worrying about recommendations and selections. And so, as Mr. Smith recommended to me, make a motion to use the construction management method for the Aquatic Center project.
Second. Could certainly clean up a little bit of the debate or not. Mr. Chairman, you okay with that?
Pardon me?
Me?
Yeah, Mr. Stuber?
Yeah.
We'll decide first if we're gonna do it, and then we'll decide who.
Certainly.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Tripp and a second, Mr. Harris.
Correct.
Everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Can I
The
make
motion
one-
would be,
Can I make one thing? Again, just so everybody understands, this construction management method, if voted on and approved tonight, it does not set it in motion yet. It's a two-step process. This allows us to go to the negotiation stage.
Yes.
That would identify the fees and et cetera that, has been rumbling around about costing this, costing that. This gets us to that point if we select a firm. So I'm sorry,
Okay.
Mayor, I wanted to clarify that.
Mayor,
yes, sir.
I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, sir.
I would like to point out that everything you read that pertains to this, where construction managers are used, that it's recommended that those construction managers be negotiated with and hired close to the same time that the architectural firm is hired. And, on this, it was even suggested in something I read that they be hired before the architect was hired. And it really didn't give a reason, but I'm assuming there's multiple reasons that would put them involved all the way along. And if a construction manager were hired right up front, I would think maybe that the architect fee might be negotiated down a little lower, because certainly it takes responsibility away from the architects, okay? So they should, and puts responsibility on the construction manager. And quite frankly, in this particular situation, ETC is getting paid 11% for the design and the overseeing of this project. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that's a fee that they ought to adequately oversee the project during construction. Thank you.
Okay. Let's clean up a little housekeeping real quick. I forgot to do this. We've got a motion and a second to discuss.
That's what I'm doing, discussing.
Well, I also want to point out that you're also going to have a general contractor along with this firm that's doing the design. So you're still going to be out the expense. So I don't think that's going to be one way or the other. It's neither here nor there. Timing is a little bit off, but I think we can still accomplish what we want to tonight.
Mr. McCready has signed up to speak on this issue.
I agree with Mr. Tripp. Let's just say this body has not had a stunning record of wanting things built and getting it done. A construction manager would go on site every day to see if it's done right. Two glaring examples is the police station. It was basically, the air conditioner was made for a gas air conditioner, and it was changed to a electric air conditioner, and you know how that went. For years you had trouble. Another area was this building right here. And if you remember, they had one person that went in there and tore everything down. They demolished the whole inside of that, sent a bill to the council. Council said, well, whoa, this is too high. What's in the contract? He said, what contract? There was no contract. So you had to pay it. And there's other basically things that happened to this building. If you had a construction manager on site, it wouldn't have. But if you remember, he sent you a bill and you had to pay it because no one put a contract in it for the demolition of the inside of the building. So let's get this construction management first, and then we can save money instead of down the line having egg on our face.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Mr. Tripp?
Yes,
would you
sir.
Clarify your motion.
My motion is that we move to use construction management method for the Aquatic Center project.
Everybody okay on that?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Aye.
I can't tell. You want to call the roll?
Happy to. Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
No.
Mr. Wiley.
Yes.
Mr. Eaton,
No.
Ms. Freddie Harris. Yes. Mr. Stuber,
No.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
5-3.
5-3.
Motion carries. Now, how do we clean up the rest of the process?
Mayor, I'll start with the Finance Committee since we were, that's how it was listed, not to take a vote on it, just to report what the Finance Committee's recommendation was by a vote of 2-1. The Finance Committee's recommendation was to recommend in this order, again, this order would be to start negotiations with number 1, and if it doesn't work out, you back up and go to number 2, et cetera. And that's number 1 of Van Horn Construction, number 2, Van Horn Engineering, and number 3, EWI.
Mr. Stuber?
Okay.
What did your committee come up with?
The Personnel Committee has met twice on, well, 3 different times really on this. And we did what we felt like the law asked for. We had a meeting. We narrowed those documents down to 3. And we numbered them 1, 2, 3. And we renumbered them again this evening. And our number 1 choice was the Cone, and number 2 was Van Horn Construction, and number 3 was EI.
And Combs had 2 votes.
Right, it was not a unanimous vote.
So, looks like Combs got 2, Van Horn Construction got 2. So, I make a motion, we vote on one of those. If we don't get 5 votes, we vote on the other one.
Which one?
I'm gonna make a motion, we vote on Van Horn Construction first.
Second.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
No.
Opposed?
No. No.
Same.
You better call that one.
Mr. Wiley.
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Eaton,
No.
Mr. Richard Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris. Yes. Mr. Stuber,
No.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
No.
5-3.
Okay. That take care of our agenda?
No, we need to Mayor, we need to list out 2 and 3. We need to list out, the council has to vote on them to list out 1, 2, and 3, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Smith?
Yep.
Okay.
Make a motion that we list Cone as number 2.
Second.
So the motion, all in favor?
Mayor, can we have some discussion?
Please do.
While I've heard good and bad, regardless, we all have opinions. We have more than one fully capable firm in Russellville, and I am a firm believer in shopping local, using local resources. So, I just wanted that stated.
Any other discussion?
Of course, I would also like to point out that according to what the rules are, you're supposed to pick them strictly on their qualifications, not where they live or where they're from or who they are. It's strictly on qualifications. and nothing else has anything to do with it. Is that correct?
That's my understanding too, Mr. Stewart.
You know, so, yes, I think local people are good, but, you know, if you're gonna go with local people, you know, why in the hell would you ask for qualifications outside of town, you know?
Point taken.
And I'd just like to state that this 1, 2, and 3 that we're talking about is just for the aquatic center. That when we
Yeah.
get ready to do the fire station, we will, as council, I think we'll need to revisit this to make a different selection. So we're definitely not ruling anyone out for the fire station just because they weren't maybe in the top 2 for the aquatic center.
Call for the question.
You've heard the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So now we're gonna pick a number 3.
I don't think two passed yet, Mayor. Tom. I don't think 2 passed yet. I didn't hear very many people say yes. Tom.
Roll call.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Abstain.
Mr. Tripp?
No.
Ms. Freddie Harris? No. Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries. Now that we wanna pick a number 3.
Make a motion that we select PEI as our third choice.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
No.
Ms. Freddie Harris? Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor, one more motion, again on the advisement of Mr. Smith, just for clarification. I'd like to make a motion to have the city attorney and the mayor to negotiate a contract of terms and of the selected number 1 firm to bring before either Finance and Property Committee or the full council, whichever way it needs to go, within, the next week to 2 weeks to bring back to have a vote.
Run that by again.
Have a motion for the city attorney and the mayor to negotiate a contract with a selected firm for contract negotiations to bring back a presentation to the council for approval, or a contract for approval.
You're asking the city attorney to negotiate a fee with a construction, with the number 1 construction firm and come back with what?
No, Mr. Stuber, I'm asking the mayor and the city attorney to negotiate that, and it's a legal document, a contract. That's why I believe Mr. Smith needs to be involved in it and bring back to give us their recommendation, their negotiated contract that we can tweak, we can change, whatever we need to do at that point in time. It requires a vote by the full council for passage.
Can the whole council not sit in on that, be a part of that?
Mayor, this here needs to write CM-GC, this position does. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Needs to be CM/GC.
Mr. Smith, could you make a note to put that into the contract?
Yes.
And I'm going to agree with Stuber. I think the whole council needs to sit in on it. this is gonna affect the whole council?
Well, you'll have plenty of time to review it once the finished product's done, and if you don't like it, you can send it back for renegotiation. But trying to get 8 people during the day to negotiate with
Yeah,
Van
you
Horn
may be
Construction
right.
may be difficult
I
to do.
withdraw my motion then.
If 8 people show up, they show up. If 2 shows up, 2's there.
Yes, but usually the people that don't show up, they want to back up and go over the work that other people that are there go. But if you're going to give the work in a final product, and if you don't like it, you can make your comments then about it. It's not like you're going to be cut out of the process entirely.
You know, it's a lot easier to make comments when something's going on than it is after the fact.
No, you can do it at any time.
Mayor, we actually do not have a second on this yet, so it's actually not ready for discussion.
Does anybody want to second Mr.
I'll
Tripp's
second it.
motion?
Mr. Stockton, or Harris did.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I agree with Mr. Stuber.
Is that it?
I call for the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You better count those up.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
No.
Mr. Stuber,
No.
Mr. Eaton,
No.
Mr. Wiley,
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion adjourned.
Second.